2020, the Cinco de Mayo Mindset Wealth Moment. And normally we do these one by one on certain topics, but given the situation around the world and dealing with the COVID-19, I wanted to get our advisory team in this particular Mindset Wealth Moment. So we have from our Vancouver office, Rudy Chung. In the Comox Valley, we have Russ Waggle down in our office there. And we're lucky enough to have Daniel Kuhlman, award-winning director from Unveil Studios, putting this all together with us. So hello, gentlemen.
Hello from Vancouver.
Hi, everyone.
Thanks for having me on, Robbie.
Just to take care of some housekeeping, compliance, the opinions and comments on this Mindset Wealth Moment are of Robert, Rudy, and Russ, and not necessarily of Hollis Wealth and IA Securities. And on a separate note, on behalf of Mindset Wealth, I want to extend our sincere condolences to our fellow Canadians in Nova Scotia who went through a couple of weeks ago an unspeakable tragedy and dealing with that. And certainly we're thinking of them, and we're thinking about the military families from last week, the military helicopter going down, and all the families dealing with this crisis. And our hearts go out to the loved ones that have lost people, the family members, and not being able to go see them. That's what I'm going to remember most about this crisis that we're dealing with. It's the unbelievable tragedy. So we're in late February, early March, and we're going through this crisis. Russ, why don't you update us what the Comox Valley office did?
Yeah, we actually not, I can't say close the office. We are deemed an essential service, so we have to be open. But we had everyone starting to work from home starting on March 16th. We did keep the office open for reception, phone calls, delivery, that kind of thing. But, we took it really seriously. And anybody that had a cold or a flu or any kind of symptoms basically was at home for a good 2 weeks before they came into the office. One of our office manager, Laura, her husband is a first responder, so she took it very seriously, and she's been working from home pretty much exclusively and doing a great job. All the staff has been doing a great job working from home, so really, really happy about that. I myself have been coming into the office for a few hours every day, kind of 3 to 4 hours sort of thing. I have to say it's a little challenging working from home with 3 kids and a wife that's working from home and trying to do some of this homeschooling. You're definitely pulled in a lot of different directions, but some really good experiences with all that as well.
We worked together for a long period of time. Russ, Rudy, and I started on House Street in 1995, and we were going to mention our 25-year anniversary. We're going to do some work on that later on, but then this happened. We started as assistants and moved our way up. Russ is a wholesaler in and out, but now back as an advisor. But we've been through several crises, and together. I can remember 9/11, and I was taking an exam that day, and certainly 08 and 09. And the difference between, in my opinion anyway, in 08 and 09, if you remember that financial crisis, it took a while for governments to get going and approve TARP in the US and some stimulus here. But our governments around the world came out quickly in this crisis. First and foremost, it's a healthcare crisis. We handled that, but it stemmed into a financial crisis, and that's what I'm talking about. Rudy, do you want to mention a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, we certainly have been through a lot over the years with our experience, and with 2008 being the last major sell-off, there's a lot of things that have happened throughout the years, but I think a lot of it translates into a lot of wisdom for us, and really knowing some truths about the market and investing in money, and we only get better over time because of these things. So,
and you want to mention about the government stimulus?
Yeah, I think. Rob, Russ, and myself, it's been a very busy day of many long hours on the phone. I think we've probably logged 200 to 300 hours of phone calls and video chats and conference calls on topics ranging from investments to the markets to retirement planning and taxes. So no call is ever the same because no 2 clients are ever the same. One thing I can tell you, though, there are a lot of people going through a difficult time with this economic disruption, and it's right down to families and business owners and everyone. So make no mistake, there's lots of people hurting out there financially, and every little bit of money helps. So for us, it's learning as much as we can about the various government programs. It's really a dizzying array of programs, and the rules keep changing, whether you're a salaried employee, a business owner, a student, seniors, even renters. The list goes on and on. So I would always advise people to talk to their accountant first, because we're not accountants, to see what fits you the best. But certainly give us a call. We have very, very good resources to help you at least get started on looking at some of the programs. And I guarantee it'll be worth your time giving us a call about those things. We're here to help.
Absolutely. And like you mentioned, hours and hours. I don't remember logging that many hours. Partly is because you're home and you're up and you're concerned. We had the quickest bear market in history in March, and it was like that. Every 2 years, professional advisors, financial advisors have to do 30 years, it felt like 30 years, 30 hours of continuing education. Well, I think we all logged that in the last few days. I've talked to many conference calls with fund managers. And one of my big takeaways that I got from the call and I've used many times with clients is, especially from Comox Valley, is I felt the virus and we're still dealing with it, but it was like a valley. And we could see the other side, some days better than others, and it was foggy, but we knew it was there. So there's a start and there's a finish. We would get through that. And I'm going to remember that for a long period of time. And now we're dealing with some other stuff. But and Russ, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I've got quite a few videos and listened to a lot of different money managers and their opinions. And one of the I guess bigger takeaways for me came from the video that we sent out on investor psychology and how people react in these stressful situations. And the one point that really stuck out was the more you look at your portfolio, the worse you're going to feel about it. If you're constantly logging in and checking your portfolio and looking at the balance, it's going to create stress and anxiety. And so that's, something they've proven is what happens to people if they constantly look at their portfolio. So my advice is just try to tune that out. Focus on your life, focus on your health, focus on your work, focus on your kids, your family, anything else, but don't try to log in every day and check your portfolio. That's not going to really make your day turn out any better.
I'm glad you mentioned that. That is a big takeaway. I find in the investors in the past never had a cell phone to look at. We're not looking. I think we saw in one of the conferences I was at, the average holding period for an investment now is it's almost days, weeks, not months, years, and which it should be, right? It's interesting. So I know all you guys are fantastic home instructors and you're loving the whole homeschooling. Other than the financial stuff, what are you watching, listening to, reading, non-financial to kind of pass the time? We'll start with Rudy.
I haven't had a chance to listen to too many podcasts, but one thing that stuck in my mind was watching on Netflix a movie called The Darkest Hour, talking about England going through the dark days of World War II, the early days of World War II. It stars Academy Award-winning Gary Oldman playing Winston Churchill. And I thought there was a lot of good takeaways from what we're going through right now. Certainly, it was a very difficult time, lots of uncertainty. And what I found is that he wasn't focusing on the impending doom of going into yet another great war or trying to avoid their destiny. He wasn't looking backwards or forwards. He was just an ordinary man with ordinary flaws, but he had to make some very exceptional decisions and changing the mindset of the English people. So he just stuck with the truths that he knew during an uncertain time. And I think that's a very powerful lesson for all of us as we go through this together.
Changing the mindset. I love that, Rudy. Russ?
Yeah, you know what, Rudy? I saw that movie as well, and fantastic movie. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Great movie to watch right now. I've been actually listening to a lot of podcasts. One of my, new exercise routines is walking in the woods with my dog. I've been doing that quite a bit, a couple of times a day. And one of the podcasts I really enjoy listening to is called Our Fake History. It's a Canadian podcaster. His name is Sebastian Major. He's got a really good sense of humor, and he covers a whole bunch of different historical events, everything from who built the pyramids to who is Blackbeard the pirate. And one of my favorite episodes is on the Diefenbunker, which is a bunker that was built just outside Ottawa, close to where I grew up, by the Prime Minister John Diefenbaker at the time. And he actually does his podcast from inside this bunker. So really interesting. If you like history, this is a really good one. He goes over all the facts, and he goes over some of the juicier details that people think are part of the history, but are more kind of embellishment than anything. So it's a really good one if you're history buff.
Thanks, Russ. I actually started that today. Daniel, do you have anything for us?
Yeah, I've actually I've been really enjoying which hopefully you guys have checked out, The Last Dance on Netflix, the Michael Jordan story. The thing that really stands out is just kind of similar to what you guys mentioned with The Darkest Hour. Obviously, totally different context, not war, but I mean, some would call the NBA playoffs war, but it's about the leadership qualities needed to actually win a championship. And the thing that stood out is he was called the shot or the points title winner, right? The point title winner, but he could never win a championship. And what he realized in that, and the turning point is basically it takes a team to win, right? And so when they actually spread out their offense, spread out their defense, like suddenly they became a championship team, the Chicago Bulls. And so that just really stood out as like, where is your team, right? And in terms of podcasting, we actually decided with all this extra time on our hands to create our own. So I've been recording a podcast called Earth to Des with Des Larson, a guy out of the Comox Valley who's in Vancouver now. Yeah. And really been enjoying just getting into some deep, meaningful life topics, because that seems to be a recurring thing when you talk to people. They're like, wow, I'm really looking at the deep things of life now, right? So we're trying to just put out meaningful content that way as well.
That's really good. What was it called again, Daniel? Sorry.
That podcast is called Earth to Des. You can find it on YouTube and Instagram.
Gotcha. I'm doing a lot of podcasts, non-financial related. Gangster Capitalist is really, really good. I've gone through the first part on the NRA. Fascinating. I really like Michael Lewis, Against the Rules. He did one last year on refereeing, and it talks a little bit about the NBA. It's unbelievable. I really like Michael Lewis. And now the next one's about coaching, which I do a lot of coaching, so I love. And as a Canadian, Malcolm Gladwell's Revisionary History is phenomenal. You'll love the time you spend there. A couple hours that we won't get back as a family, and I almost regret it. Talk about deep, meaningful. I just saw this. I don't know if you see this. We'll never get back Tiger King ever again.
I have yet to see that.
Oh, don't bother. That was it.
Okay.
Going. So where are we? So I guess, Daniel, I've watched a lot of your videos for the Chamber of Commerce, and did a great job. Comox Valley strong. We're lucky and fortunate enough to be able to keep working, and this is our time. We're living history, and we have to get in front of clients and talk to them. But there's lots of people not doing anything that is home, and we have clients that are businesses in jeopardy. So Daniel, thank you very much for the videos. Maybe a positive takeaway from this period of time, and no, we're not through it, healthcare crisis into a financial crisis. We will start with Rudy. Positive takeaway from.
Yeah, I mean, I look at all the incredible people that are putting their own lives at risk for helping people, the healthcare workers, the truck drivers. And I've always said that you can always contribute in your own God-given talents. And for us, we're not healthcare workers, but we're financial first responders in many ways. Hopefully, we're the ones that are first to show up at the scene, assess the damage and assess the emergency, mitigate the pain where we need to, and get things rolling for a recovery. And I think that's a very important part of this whole process, is to operate with a lot of gratitude first in your heart. Again, there's a lot of people doing a lot more things than we are in terms of making things better. So we all have to contribute with whatever we've been given for our skills and our talents. And and you lead people through the fog with what you can, what you've been given with. And I think we can all make a difference through that.
Well said. And yes, the emphasis on the first responders, healthcare workers, and essential service, absolutely very important. And that's a takeaway for me too. Russ?
Yeah, one of the best things and the most positive things that I've experienced through all this is some of the phone calls and the conversations with clients. Some of the most meaningful phone calls I've had with our clients have really taken place throughout this whole thing. And you talk about investments for a bit, but then you talk about their life and what's going on and everything that's happening in it, and you can really feel a really, really good connection from that. So I guess for a positive note would be, I feel that, we've gained, that an extra level in comfort or getting to know our clients, or really, when you struggle through something with somebody, you really get to know them a lot better. And I feel like we're going through that with our clients right now.
Funny you should say that, Russ, because I found in a lot of the phone calls that I made, and clients we talk about their situation, and I spend more time in their economy than the overall economy. That's the most important thing. But they often mention, well, how are you guys doing? How are you doing? And I'm sure you guys both got that and was like, well, we're doing fine. Like, this is our job. This is what we get paid to do. It's tough, but it's very interesting. So, like I said, live history. Daniel?
I think the big takeaway from, especially because a lot of the people I've been spending time on Zoom talking with are business leaders and entrepreneurs. And one of I guess two primary themes have emerged. The first one would definitely be creativity. Like, I personally define creativity as the ability to solve any problem. And we're certainly facing a lot of problems. And so creativity is what's going to have to rise up to overcome them. And there's just a really positive takeaway from everyone that's digging in, even though it is challenging, like you're mentioning, that when they dig in and pursue creativity to find a way through the challenge, that then really amazing things emerge on the other side. And that's been really encouraging and inspiring to see that in other people in the community. And I think the other one is community, because when you never really know how much you miss something until it's taken away from you, right? And when community is taken away from people, they go like, wow, I thought I was an introvert, but I need people, I need family, I need friends, I need to get around a fire and just be with people and talk, and I think that is a pretty great sign, is like just how much we need each other, right? And it's neat that we have technology to still connect. And I think when we emerge out of this, there's going to be such a resurgence of just like quality time spent with people. And I think that that's a huge positive.
I'm reminded of that, the technology that we have. Can you imagine going through this 20 years ago, 30 years ago, with no Zoom and no, I've been FaceTiming with parents in Ontario, getting them to work the camera very similar to what they did with us here. But for me, the real positive takeaway is buy-in around the world. Like, all of a sudden, the sacrifice for one another. I am going to shut my business down. I am going to, sacrifice income for healthcare. And for the most part, there's lots of stories, but for the most part, it was a very, very positive 90% buy-in, and that is huge. And that's, you can win wars with that kind of power. And maybe the next one we're going to tackle is climate change, and that type of buy-in is what we're going to need to tackle whatever comes next, because I do believe we're in the 6th, 7th, 8th inning of this virus. And the other thing for me is the power, and you mentioned a little bit, Daniel, is the power of the economy and the community. And I think people are realizing it, that, wow, if this doesn't work, then this doesn't work, and then this doesn't work. That's why the government came in. That's why the government came in 08 and 09. That's why they came in now. We'll see the repercussions of that, but nonetheless, that's very powerful. Lastly, I will end, unless anybody else has anything else, I'm going to end with a quote that I got from, or a piece that I got from this year's Berkshire Hathaway meeting, which was very unique. I'm actually going to take my son, Kevin, who's graduating this year. What a year to graduate. We were going to go down to Omaha last weekend, but instead we watched Warren, who normally has his sidekick, Charlie Munger, in '96, but they kept Charlie at home in California. And we watched Warren go through answering questions. And one of the quotes he had was, fear is the most contagious disease you can imagine. it makes the coronavirus look like a piker. I really think when you think back period of time and people rushing out and buying toilet paper, and I know that was none of you guys, or going to the bank and pulling out lots of money, and just you don't make rational decisions when you're run by fear and emotions. We use, and maybe overuse, emotional intelligence, and that's hopefully what we bring. And being the advisory team that you have with Mindset Wealth. If you enjoyed this video and you want to hear more Mindset Wealth moments, we'd like to do 2 or 3 more this year. Let us know what you want, what's on your mind, and give us some ideas, and we'll do that. In closing, I want to thank everyone for their continued business. We have clients that have been with us 20 plus years. We never take you for granted. We enjoy our job. As you can see, we're very passionate about our job, and we want to thank you very much for your investment business. It means a lot to us. Thank you.